Thanks for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
If you could somehow magically go back in time and witness any musical event or any performer, where would you go first?
I would go to Pilgrim Baptist Church in Chicago, where I first heard Sister Mahalia Jackson do a concert with Thomas A. Dorsey. That was his church, and that's exactly where I'd go.
Tell people who Thomas Dorsey was.
Thomas Dorsey is the father of gospel music. You know, he wrote Precious Lord, Take My Hand. He was a dynamic man, and everyone respected Brother Thomas A. Dorsey, a really loving person.
Now, your music has consistently had an uplifting message. What's that stem from?
We began singing in 1950. My father was singing with an all-male group, the Trumpet Jubilees, and he was the manager of the group. He came home one night. He was disgusted because these guys wouldn't come to rehearsal. And he was serious, you know. So he came in, he said, called us all in the living room. He said, you all come on, I'm gonna sing with my family. We're gonna sing. He went in the closet, he had a little guitar they had bought from the pawn shop. It was missing a couple of strings, but Pops could still play it. And he set a circle on the floor and gave us all our parts, and we began to sing. He taught us, well, we had an Aunt Katie, one of Pops' sisters that lived with us, and she came in and she said, you all really sound pretty good. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of that story because that's a story I'm going to do with one of my songs. But, you know, we began singing. My brother Purvis was lead singer because Purvis had a high voice like Michael Jackson, you know, at that time. And I'd say within a few months, Purvis's voice was very heavy. And and Pops told me, he said, Mavis, you're gonna have to sing the lead. I said, no, Daddy, I don't want to sing lead. I was singing baritone. I thought the baritone was the prettiest voice in the background, you know. I wanted to stay in the background, you know. And he said, Mavis, the Lord blessed me. He gifted me, you know, to where I could sing the highs and the lows. So he said, no, Mavis, you have to sing. Purvis can't get up there anymore. And I said, oh, Daddy, I don't want to. And my Pops had a little piece of strap about that long. And he would pop my legs with it every once in a while. You know? So when I saw him reach for that, I said, all right, okay, Pops, I'll sing it, I'll sing it. I didn't want to feel that little strap, you know. So the rest is history. I started singing the lead.
Now, didn't you almost lose your voice when you were about 8 years old?
You know, I did. I swallowed a tack, and the tack lodged right in my throat. It wasn't a thumbtack; it was a tack. You know, because my father was putting up a rack in the bathroom, towel rack. And I went in the bathroom, and some of the tacks were lying on the face bowl, you know, so I just took one, picked it up, started rolling it around in my mouth. I started rolling around in my mouth, all of a sudden it went back. And I was just gagging, I couldn't say anything, so I came out of there and I got my Aunt Katie, same auntie, and I was pointing to my throat and gagging, and I showed her those tacks. She said, baby, you still got a tack, you done swallowed a tack. And she started stuffing bread down my throat and bananas, you know, and and the tack finally moved, and I could talk again, you know, but it stayed. You know, I had to stay in the hospital, and I remember them feeding me oatmeal and stuff. You know, I had to stay in the hospital 2 weeks until that tack moved on, and when I got home. Every time I have to use the bathroom, Aunt Kate would run and get a little pot. I didn't know what that part was. No, baby, don't go in there. Don't go in there. Sit on this. You know, after I saw the tack came back, you know, I said, no, that's why they, and I kept that tack a long time. Yeah, yes, indeed, I held on to it a long time. I think we moved from a couple of times, and the tack, you know, I lost place of it, yeah, but yeah, I had that experience. I had quite, you know, God has kept me because I had another time that I was in trouble, my appendix, you know, and I thought my stomach was hurting. And I kept telling Dad and Mama, I said, my stomach hurt. And they would let me lie down, they'd give me some medicine. So this last night, they let me sleep with them. I was sleeping in the middle of them, and I woke up, my nose was bleeding. So Pops told Mama, he said, Ciola, get her some clothes, we're gonna take her to the hospital. And the doctor, when they got me there, he examined me, and he told them, he said, we can't do anything for her. Her appendix is so ruptured. He said, at this point, they're gonna burst. And Mama, Daddy told him, said, well, I tell you what, you go in and operate on her anyway, and we're gonna sit outside this door here and pray. And he went in, got my appendix. As soon as he got the appendix, they splattered in his hand, burst in his hand. Wow. So I know that the Lord has kept me here to sing those type of songs that you're talking about. And see, we, and yeah.
Were you permitted to sing non-spiritual music?
Yes, I sing. I've done CDs, albums back in the '60s. I did album for Stax Records. One was called "The House Is Not a Home." I sang "A House Is Not a Home," and I've learned to do without you. And in fact, my house is not a home. We didn't have any trouble with the gospel people, the church people. When I did that, "House Is Not a Home" was played on the gospel stations. Now, when we had problems was when we did "I'll Take You There." And Respect Yourself. The church people wanted to put us out of church. You know, there was staple singers singing devil's music, you know. And that was because the music was played across the board. You know, it wasn't only played on. So when they heard it across the board, they just didn't listen to the lyrics we were singing. And we had to do so many interviews explaining ourselves. And, you know, I tell you, this is the devil's music. The devil don't have no music. All music is God's music, you know. You know, so I would tell them, I said, you have to listen to the lyrics. We're saying to you, I know a place. Ain't nobody crying. Ain't nobody worried. Ain't no smiling faces lying to the races. So where else could I be taking you but to heaven? You know, and they finally caught on and started listening to our lyrics, hearing what we were saying. You know, we were, in fact, they're calling it now contemporary gospel. So we could really say that we were the pioneers of the contemporary gospel, because we weren't calling it contemporary gospel. We were calling those songs the message songs, you know. So it's contemporary gospel now.
How did Uncloudy Day change your life, your 1956 hit?
Oh, Uncloudy Day took us out on the road, started us on the road. And I was still in high school when Uncloudy Day came out. And I was singing bass. My father would always give me songs, you know, because my voice was so heavy. I was always in the basement, you know. And Pops, I used to sing in the a cappella choir in school, and this teacher would tell me, Mavis, you're in the basement, you're singing with the boys again. I said, Mr. Finch, I can't sing up there with the sopranos, you know. My voice, that's my voice. I get my voice from my mother and her mother, my grandmother. So Uncloudy Day, we would sing this song all the way down in harmony. And then we finished that, I would come in with, well, 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 oh, Lord, they tell me now. And I was a little bitty, skinny, knock-kneed girl, you know. And so, because I was short for my age, you know, I was about 15, 16, but the disc jockeys would announce that this little girl, Mavis Staples, is coming to town singing this Uncloudy Day, and people didn't believe that. They said, oh no, that's not a little girl, that can't be a little girl. You know, that's got to either be a big lady or a man, you know. So, you know, so we would find out all these people had bet when we get to town. And my brother and I would fool them. I say, Purvis, you step up there like you want. We finished the verse down, and Purvis would ease up to the mic like he was going to say, well, and you'd hear the people say, I told you that wasn't a little girl. I told you. You know, and by this time I've eased in and I'm saying, well, 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 oh. You know, so they just, oh, the place would go wild. And then one man came out, he said, girl, I bet my whole paycheck on you. Pops told him, say, see there, you shouldn't bet. So, yes, those were fun days, you know, because we were on VJ Records, and Pops would always give me these songs to sing bass, you know. So it was a ladies' bass, not one of the men's, you know, but it was heavy for a little girl. Yeah.
One of the most distinctive sounds of your early records is Pops's guitar tone, which usually starts out each of the sides, right?
Yes.
And he has this otherworldly kind of tremolo sound going on his guitar.
Yes.
I had the pleasure of spending a day with your dad about 10 years ago, and while we were talking, he went over and picked up an unplugged guitar and started to play some of the old parts, and that sound was there without the amplifier. And I thought that was so unusual, and a couple weeks later I mentioned it to Ry Cooder, who played on a record with Pops, and his eyes got wide, and he said, I experienced the exact same phenomenon. It was in his hands, wasn't it?
It was in his fingers. It was in his fingers. And Pops is self-taught. You know, he taught himself. He took us down to, we've been down to Mississippi with Pops, and he just showed us everything. He showed us where he and my mother met. He showed us where he bought his first little guitar in a hardware store to play, you know. He took us out on Old Dockery, where they lived. His father was a sharecropper, and Daddy just had it. My father, you know, he would bend those strings to make them sound like the tremolo was still on there, you know. Yeah. And he played guitar like no one else. No one played guitar like my father, you know. So he was very unusual. He was something else. My daddy. Yeah. And he's always with me. You know, when I'm on stage, I have to go out there without him now. My other sister, Yvonne, goes with me now and sing. But I always feel Pop's presence. And I called, he was so hip, you know, he was just so frisky, and always, he was ahead of, you know, he had always had these young ideas for us. Pops was the reason for everything that we did changed. You know, he'd come with the idea, you know, and I called him the world's oldest teenager. And then I ran out and I told him, I said, Dad, I believe you're a recycled teenager. He was just so, I could call him and leave a message on his answering service. I said, okay, Pops, when you come in, hit me back. And the next day I'd hear him call me on my service. He said, okay, Mavis, when you come in, hit me back. You know, anything, he'd pick up on the slangs. You know, he was just, he was young at heart and in mind as well. You know, so I have a CD coming out on my father. You're going to hear Pops in the 21st century.
That's wonderful.
Yes, because we began this CD in '97, in the spring of '97, and it was supposed to have been a Staple Singers CD. And Pops became ill in the fall of '97. So what he would do when he felt better, he said, Mavis, we got to finish this album. We'd go to the studio, and we just let Pop sing his part. And my sisters would wait to sing our background. So it just happened when Pop, every time I take him, you know, I looked and I had about 12 songs. I said, I have an album on Daddy, you know, because we couldn't put the background down anymore because just after my father passed, my oldest sister came down with this Alzheimer's. So she can't sing anymore. And, but she'll sing with me when I go over there. I said, Cleety, let's sing a song. Well, Mavis, what you want to sing? I said, let's sing I'll Fly Away. Okay, you start it. She slick, you know, because she don't remember how to start it. And so we have fun with it. We give her all the love we can, and we have her 24-hour home care. We're keeping her right at home, you know, and we have the two beautiful ladies that we trust. You know, so we can come on out and do what the Lord means for me to do. Mm-hmm.
What were your impressions of Dr. Martin Luther King?
Oh, Dr. Martin Luther King was just, he was a saint. You know, his presence, when we were in his presence, you know, this feeling would come over. You look at him and his face, it was so pure. You know, we visited his church in the 60s. We happened to be in Montgomery. We had a show there that night. And Pops called us to his room. He said, listen, you all, I've been hearing this man, Martin Luther King. And he said, I like his message. He said, I'm going to his church this morning, 11 o'clock. Sir, do you all want to go? And we said, oh, yes, we want to go, Pop. So we all went to Dr. King's church. And Dr. King was a young man, and Miss Coretta was singing in the choir, Babe in Arms, you know, little Bernice, I guess. And he acknowledged us. Someone let him know we were there. And when the service was over, Dr. King would stand at the back of the church to shake hands with everyone. He and Pops had some words. They talked a little while. So we get back to the hotel, and Pops called us again. He said, listen, you all, I really like this man's message. And you know, I think if he can preach it, we can sing it. So we began writing freedom songs. We joined the movement, and we wrote, our first song was March Up Freedom's Highway. That was for the march from Selma to Montgomery. Then we wrote It's a Long Walk to D.C., but I got my walking shoes on. And that was for Washington, D.C. When will we be paid for the work we've done? Then Pops wrote Why Am I Treated So Bad, which turned out to be Dr. King's favorite. And that song was for the Little Rock Nine. There were 9 children, 9 black children who were trying to go to school to integrate the school. And they would never let them on the bus to go to school. There was always a big crowd. So this day, Pops was watching the news. This particular day, everyone, the governor, the mayor, the president, had given them permission to go to school, said, let these kids go to the school. So on the news, they were just about to board the bus. And this particular day, a policeman put his billy club across the door. And Pops was lying in his recliner. He says, now, why are they doing that? Why are they treating them so bad? And that evening, he wrote that song. Turned out to be Dr. King's favorite. Anytime we'd get with Dr. King, he'd say, Stape. He called Pop Stape. He said, you're going to sing my song tonight, right, Stape? Pop said, oh, yeah, doctor. We're going to sing your song. Why am I treated so bad?
What are the words to that?
Why am I treated so bad? Tell me why am I treated so bad? You know I'm all alone as I sing this song. Hear my call. I've done nobody wrong, but I'm treated so bad. You know, and then there were other verses. Yeah. Thank you.
What was it like working with Curtis Mayfield?
Oh, Curtis, little genius. He was a genius. You know, Curtis, when he came with Let's Do It Again, this was the first and only secular song that the Staple Singers sang. So this was for the movie with Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby and Harry Belafonte. So Curtis, we went to the studio and he said, I got this song now, the title of the song I want you to sing. So when he gave me my part, then he started giving Pops his part. He said, now Pop, this is what I want you to say. Well, the words were, I like you, lady, so fine with your pretty hair. Dad said, man, I ain't gonna say that. He said, I'm a church man. I'm a Christian man. I ain't gonna be saying no, I like it, lady, so fine with your pretty. And Curtis said, oh, Pop, please, Pop. He said, he got on his knee. He said, I'll pray, Pop, the Lord will forgive you. He said, it's just for a movie. It's not like you meaning to sing it all the time. He says, for this movie. And Curtis was big, Pop, so till we got in on it, we started bigging Daddy. Because we wanted to sing it too. We said, Daddy, come on. And it's just a movie. It's just a movie. He finally gave in. And when he said, we went to the premiere to see that, and when Pops was saying, I like you, lady, so fine with your pretty hair. If you don't like my compliment, just digging on the clothes you wear. But this girl, Jan Kennedy, a real pretty girl, she walked across the screen. She was walking across the street, and you saw this big grin on Daddy's face. So we said, Pops, yeah. After that, he didn't have no more problem.
What was your favorite of Curtis's songs that he wrote?
My favorite song, you see, Curtis told Daddy, he told Pops, he said, Pops, I'm going to start writing some of those songs that you all sing. And he did. He started moving on up. People Get Ready. He wrote a lot of message songs. And but Curtis, I had a song when he was singing, people get ready, there's a train a-coming, don't need no ticket, you just get on board. I love that, I love it. And then Curtis called me, I'm singing on his last CD, New World Order. That was the name of the CD. And he called me one day, he said, Mavis, you know, he has a little high voice. He said, Mavis, you know, I have a song and it has your name written all over it, you know? I said, well, what's the name of it, girl? He says, called Miss Martha. And Mavis, I want you to sing it on my, I said, Curtis, when do you need me? You know, I'll be right there. I said, I'll be there just today if you need me. He said, well, how about Monday? This was a Friday. And that Monday, Yvonne and I went to Atlanta, and we put down Miss Martha, you know, and I feel very honored, you know, that to sing on his last work, you know, his last album. And he was always such a good friend. We lived in Chicago, and Curtis and the rest of the Impressions, I'd say, lived maybe 3 blocks from us. And we would always see each other. You know, if we walk into the store or whatever, they had 3 houses right in a row. And we would always see them, you know, so we were very close friends. And we had, in Chicago, you know, we had a Chi-Town sound. When I was coming up, we lived on 33rd Street, and we called it the Dirty 30s. You know, so we, you know, it was down in the bottom, you know, so everybody this was a really, Sam Cooke lived in this area. Sam Cooke, Lou Rawls, Johnny Taylor.
Howlin' Wolf.
Howlin' Wolf. And all of us grew up together. Sam Cooke, Lou Rawls, we all went to the same school together. Curtis Mayfield and Jerry Butler. All of us lived right in that circle. So it was, we didn't realize how cool it was until everybody started singing, you know. But it was really wonderful memories.
Now, you've
from
spent
back
your
then.
life in Chicago, right?
I did what?
You spent your life living in
Oh,
Chicago.
yes. A part of it, I stayed in Mount Bayou, Mississippi with my grandmother. You know, it was hard times. Pops and Mom, we had 5 children, and they said it was too hard keeping us in shoes, and so they sent Yvonne and I down to Mississippi. That was a help to them. You know, they didn't have to feed us. You know, so we went down to stay with my grandmother. Went to school down there, and we would come back home in the summertime. But this last time we went, my grandmother got a hold of me, and see, I went to school. You walk this gravel road, and you hear these jukeboxes, you know, playing these songs. And so every morning I'm walking to school, I'd hear this Buddy and Ella Johnson, you know, singing, "You made me leave my happy home." You know, that song stayed with me. I was about 8 years old, and I was short for my age. I was a little girl, you know, and I was about 8 years old. The kids at school knew that I sang. So we had a variety show, and they pushed me on the stage. I said, "No, I don't want to." They pushed me on the stage, and the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "You made me leave my happy home," and I was just singing. All of a sudden, I saw my uncle. See, this school went from elementary to high school, and he was like 16 years old. He was real tall, you know, my mother's brother. And I saw him, we called him Ham. He was coming around there. Well, I'm thinking, oh, he's coming to pat me on my head. You know, I'm doing good, you know. And he came on that stage and snatched me off that stage. And he pushed me out of school. He didn't say a word to me. Walked all the way home. And when we got to my grandmother's house, he pushed me in that door. He said, "This young'un is up at the schoolhouse singing the blues." And I was in trouble. My grandmother sent me outside to get some switches. And he stripped the leaves from them switches and put about 3 switches together. And she said, "You come here, young'un." And I said, "What is wrong?" I didn't know what was going on, you know. Nobody had ever told me I wasn't supposed to sing the blues, you know. And every lick she hit, "You don't sing blues in this family. You sing church songs, so and so." Man, I started printing letters home to my mother. I said, "Mama, I want to come home." Grandma, she wouldn't let me suck my fingers. And I'd wake up, she'd be and put pepper or something on my finger. And my mouth was burning. I would print letters to Mama that I wanted to come. So when I got a chance to get back home that time, I didn't go back. I didn't go back. Yvonne stayed. Yvonne stayed and graduated in Mississippi. She loved it down there because she was a good girl, you know. But I stayed in trouble, you know.
Good for you.
Yeah, I was bad. One time they caught me, Yvonne and one other cousin. I was beating up one of my cousins. I didn't know it was my cousin. We didn't know we were cousins. So when they would call me, they would talk about me because I would talk real heavy. They'd say, "You talk like a boy. You sound like a boy." And they'd pull my pigtails, you know, and I'm just city girl, you know. Oh, they would mess with me, so I knew how to fight. And I wasn't taking it. And so all of a sudden, here's Yvonne and one of my other cousins pulling us apart, saying, "You all are cousins. You're cousins." And we didn't know it. Neither of us knew we were cousins. Wow. So I've had some pretty wild experiences in my life. I could talk to you all night.
Mavis, I know we want to offer some questions to the crowd, so
Okay.
you'd prefer to talk about the Staple Singers?
Whatever they want to ask me, I'll talk about it. And I might not if you ask me something too personal. Yes, sir.
Ms. Staples, I understand that Stax is going to have a reunion or rebuilding their home down in Memphis.
Yes.
There'll be a reunion, something like the Motown reunion, and we participate in it.
Yes. Yes. In fact, we've already done that. That happened on April 28th. We, most of all of the Stax artists who are still with us. We did a concert. It was taped. It would be on PBS. They have built a museum, a Stax Museum, and the Stax Music Academy, where the kids in Memphis can go to this academy and learn music. You know, it'll have different guys there. Some of the Booker T and MGs will be helping teach guitar and voice and all that. It's really, really nice. Yeah. You want to know how old I am, don't you?
How long have you been singing?
I've been singing 53 years. 53 years. Probably a few more of years other than, because I was singing around the house all the time before my family began singing. My father had to, when I was in kindergarten, my teacher taught us a song. It was around Thanksgiving. So she taught us this song, "A turkey is a funny bird, wobble, wobble, wobble." And all he knows is just one word, gobble, gobble, gobble. And I was singing that song around, Pops would tell, he said, "Seal, calm her down, stop her, stop." So I've been singing with my family. I began singing in 1950, 53 years. Yeah.
Question.
Hello. My name is Sonia Hollins. I'm a features editor at Battle Creek. And when I found out you were going to be here, I was so excited because I recently completed a book on the musicians out of Battle Creek, like Junior Walker and the All-Stars.
Yes.
Wade Flemings, who wrote Here I Stand when he was still in high school, was on VJ Records. I was wondering if you could tell me some of your memories of him and if I could give you one of the books I just published on the
Yes.
musicians.
You know, Wade Fleming, now he evidently got to Stax before we did, you know.
He was with VJ.
Oh, he was with VJ? Oh, girl. Now see, you know when we were on VJ was in the 50s. I remember, I'm sure I know him, but I can't, what was his sound, what song did he make? Oh, Here I Stand, yes. Okay, but I don't think, see, I was such a young girl when we were on VJ. Pops wouldn't let me talk to many guys. So I probably didn't get a chance to talk to him, you know, but I certainly appreciate you bringing me his CD and VJ. Now that's one that should be, all of the people on VJ were like Maceo Woods, Harlan Wolf, Jerry Butler, John Lee Hooker. They've got to do something with all the artists that were on their label. You know, because VJ, a lot of people think that Motown was the first black label, but VJ Records was the first black label. This was a husband and wife, Vivian Carter and Johnny Braxton, her husband. So actually, and they had the Beatles. And they let the Beatles go, they didn't like them, you know? They let them go. I said, oh my God. So yeah, VJ Records.
Now, Stack Records, Bobby Holly made a moving dancer on Stack Records. Do you remember him? He's from Battle Creek.
Yes, indeed.
Do you remember anything about him?
No, you know, see, we would be on the same labels, but most of the time we'd be going in different directions. And we wouldn't always be there at the same time recording, you know. Certain ones I made it my business to meet them, like Otis Redding and Johnny Taylor. Well, I already knew Johnny Taylor, but most of the time, we'd always be recording at different times.
I'd like to ask you a question. How often do you live in Chicago, Illinois? Because you mentioned about Pilgrim Baptist Church. My aunt and uncle attended there.
Is that
Bill
right?
Washington and Preston Burkett.
Uh-huh. Well, I was born in Chicago. My older sister and my brother, Cleotha and Purvis, they were born in Mississippi. But by the time I was born, Pops and Mom had moved to Chicago. And we sang at Pilgrim Baptist Church many times.